Pat, really appreciate you being on the show tonight. And
it's an honor.
Before we start, I want to ask a favor, if that's okay. I'm just now getting into broadcasting, and I really don't know that much about it, being a rookie. You've been in it a few years.
Yes.
And you've seen a lot of guys come and go. I need a kind of a catchy phrase or something, going all the way or what have you as an announcer. I said, what can you tell me? What kind of advice can you give me?
Well, first thing I can tell you is you don't need any catchy phrase. Just be yourself, like, "Hi, I'm Pat Summerall, and you're watching Sports Waves with Jimmy Johnson."
Live from Miami Subs Grill in Dallas, Texas, with the music of Emerald City, this is Sports Waves. Now, here's your host, Mike Doocy.
Hi, everybody, and welcome again to Sports Waves. Glad you could be with us. We have a star-studded show coming up for you today. Before we go any further, let me introduce my co-host for the broadcast today, our Sports Waves co-host, former Cowboys head coach, currently with Fox and HBO. Welcome, Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, welcome. We wanted to get a couple of reactions from you on action in week number 2. Some of the headline stories: Chiefs versus the Niners. The Montana Magic lives.
Well, I actually thought that the Chiefs would come up a little bit short against the 49ers. I thought the 49ers would be too strong for them with their overall personnel. Montana played fantastic, but, with all the injuries that the 49ers have right now, with the injuries especially in the offensive line, they just weren't able to do it. The other thing is they turn the ball over, and you can't go on the road and turn it over like they did and expect to beat a good team like the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are really playing better than I thought they were going to play.
Also, the Cowboys struggle a bit on offense, but still move to 2-0 against the Oilers.
Well, I didn't get to see all of the ball game. We were in transit, and we watched part of 2 quarters. But it looked like they were in charge of the ball game. Bucky Richardson really gave a spirited effort. I guess a lot like he did when he was at Texas A&M, and I guess made it close. But it looked like the Cowboys were in charge all the way.
Jimmy, we have some guests on tonight who you're very familiar with, some members of the Buffalo Bills. Thurman Thomas will be joining us, and Andre Reed. You've heard of those guys, haven't you?
Well, Thurman, I first recruited Thurman Thomas out of Willow Ridge for Oklahoma State, and he was a little bit upset with me because after I had signed him to go to school at Oklahoma State, I left and took the job at the University of Miami. So we kind of made up for our differences years later, and of course he's had a great career with the Buffalo Bills. And Andre Reed, one of the greatest receivers in the league right now.
Speaking of receivers who are playing well right now anyway, this past Sunday, Alvin Harper had a big game for the Cowboys. He'll be with us tonight as well.
Well, Alvin made the big catch for the touchdown, and of course he's made those kind of catches. And it seems like every big game that the Cowboys have had over the past so many years, Harper's come up with a big catch, and especially when it gets down in the stretch, especially down in the playoffs.
Also joining us today on Sports Waves will be the voice of the NFL for a long time on CBS and now on Fox, Pat Summerall, one of your co-workers now.
Well, yeah, I tell you what, all of us just kind of sit back and watch Pat because he's the best in the business, and he's been the best for a long, long time.
All right, let's kick off the show with a feature that allows Jimmy to talk about some of the teams that he feels are really on the rise and some that might either be stuck or actually going downhill. First of all, the teams that are riding the wave, as you see it.
Well, of course, Kansas City's one of the teams. They're playing a little bit better than what I thought. They're healthy right now, and so I think that they're going to be a factor, not only in the playoff race if they can stay healthy, but I think that they can go on right down to the wire because they have that kind of talent. Well-coached team by Marty Schottenheimer.
Also, the Jets off to the big 2-0 start.
I tell you what, I thought that there'd be a little bit of a transition problem there with Pete Carroll taking over for Bruce Cosley from a year ago, and they struggled somewhat last year, but I tell you, Pete Carroll's really doing a fine job, and again, I think that they're going to be an outstanding team in the AFC East.
And also the Dallas Cowboys, who have a rookie head coach who's 2-0.
Well, I think they're the best in the league, and I think that's pretty well a consensus, especially since the 49ers lost here this past Sunday. I think the Cowboys are the best, and you know, there's enough talent on that football team, and it's almost just talking to the players and really watching the team play. It's almost a deal where the players understand what they have in front of them, and they know what they can achieve, and they're bound and determined to make that happen.
On the other side of things, teams that you might say are stuck in the sand. A lot of us picked the Raiders to go to the Super Bowl, and the Cowboys did it last year after starting 0-2, but it's going to be tough.
Well, actually, I picked the Raiders as being one of the teams that might finish up right there at the top, and I thought that they would be successful in the first couple of ball games. They haven't played real well, but I think that they'll pick it up and they'll play much better. But right now, they need to get going.
And the Denver Broncos have struggled as well.
Well, Broncos, Denver went out and got some defensive players, and they felt like that they were going to shore up the defense a little bit. They also went out and got some offensive people to help John Elway. It looks like they can score a few points, but they can't slow anybody down. And so if you can't play defense, you're not going to win a lot of games.
And the New Orleans Saints. Does Jim Mora have reason to worry about his job at this point?
Well, that one really surprises me a little bit because, I've got as much respect for Jim Mora as anybody in the league. And I think it's just a matter of they lost so much talent in the free agency exit. And so I think because of the talent that they lost in that football team, they started off 0-2. And really right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be an outstanding season for the Saints. And Jim Mora, he's had them right there at playoff level almost every year. And I think that this could be a tough year for the Saints.
Cowboys, as we said, off to the 2-0 start. Their defense has been outstanding. Charles Haley has been one of the guys who just has had a resurgence. He's a guy that supposedly at one time you weren't so sure if he had a future with your football team in Dallas.
Well, the whole thing, we talked about it last year, all of us, the coaching staff. We felt like that Charles Haley needed to get better. And the main thing, get better, is just health-wise. He had a bad back last year, and so he was struggling somewhat last year. From my understanding, Kevin O'Neill said he really did a great job rehabilitating his back. And so, without question, him healthy, he's one of the best in the league. But a year ago, he wasn't healthy. And so we were debating whether or not to keep Casillas or Kenny Norton or Charles Haley. Or if we had to move somebody, what would we do? And as it turned out, he did rehabilitate his back, and so he's healthy. And now that's the best thing to do is keep Charles Haley.
Every week on Sports Waves, we go into our audience to get some questions and sometimes some answers. And here's Carolyn Neff.
Thank you, Mike. Tommy Carter has a question for Jimmy. What's your question?
Coach Johnston, do you think the NFL should realign the conferences or just leave them the way they are?
Well, I don't know. I like it the way it is. Obviously, some teams, would like to change their alignment as far as, where they have to go. I know Atlanta doesn't like playing in the NFC West. They have to travel so much. But here again, I don't know that you answer it if you put somebody else out there. And the other thing is, if you realign the league, you're going to break some traditional rivalries, and I don't know that that's good for the league. It could eventually happen, though.
One thing I thought of as I watched the Cowboys and the Oilers on Sunday is that it's a shame that they play each other so seldom during the regular season. There's one case where maybe a rivalry could be created.
Well, I think there's a rivalry there. I don't know if you want to see it every year. The thing about the Oilers, working against them in preseason, working against them in training camp, and then the two teams being so familiar with each other, right here in the same state, there's going to be, some animosity, and it seemed like the Oilers always, play their very, very best against the Cowboys because, for so many years the Cowboys were receiving so much attention, and the Oilers really wasn't receiving that kind of attention. So that was a problem.
Our Waveline question for you viewers today has to do with realignment. What do you think about it? We need your opinion at 1-800-700-9002. Punch in your opinion about the possible conference realignment. Let's take a quick look back at your response to last week's questions. We wanted to know what you think about the baseball strike. 24% say you're very concerned. 18% are just mildly concerned. 58% could not care any less about the baseball strike. I think Jimmy just gave us his answer on that.
Is anybody concerned about baseball right now?
Apparently not many. Thanks for the calls, and we'll be right back after this from the Waves.
And Sports Waves is brought to you by
Taste so unique. Take a taste to a different place. Miami Suns will. All right, you ready? Here we go. 2 seconds left. The ball on the 34-yard line. Whoa, and they're going for a
51-yarder.
A 51-yard field goal that could hand them the championship.
The crowd is on its feet.
Gonzalez sets his steps.
No way. No way.
There's the snap.
No
The kick is up.
No matter what the game, the basic gear for sports nuts is Sports Day.
Good!
In the Dallas Morning News.
Oh, my, what a story!
And the crowd goes
Look
wild.
at Gonzalez. That's what this game is all about.
Welcome back to Sports Waves. I'm Mike Doocy with Jimmy Johnson. Every season since 1990, the Buffalo Bills have run away with the AFC title, yet crawled away from the Super Bowl. Last Sunday, the Bills defeat the New England Patriots 38-35, a game in which Thurman Thomas ran for 106 yards. Here's a look at one of the game's premier running backs. Thurman Thomas, without a doubt, a guy who's done it all for the last several years for the Buffalo Bills. And Thurman Thomas joins us now live via satellite from Buffalo. Thurman, I'm Mike Doocy. Jimmy Johnson is here with us tonight. Let me ask you, first of all, about the turnaround from Week 1 to Week 2. You come back with a huge performance from your offense and that victory in Week 2. What made the difference?
Well, I think what made the difference was that we knew that we had to come out and be 1-1 and not 0-2. And everybody was expecting us to be a Super Bowl caliber football team coming into this year. And we knew going into this year we had to prove that, going against the New England Patriots, that we had to go out and we had to win the ball game. We gave up a lot of points, but we scored a lot of points, and we came out with a victory. And to me, that's the most important thing that happened to this football team.
Hey, Thurman, you can tell that they still love you here in Texas now. Everybody's applauding for you. Let me ask you this. You're not still mad at me for leaving you when I went to Miami, are you? I told them the story about leaving you there at Oklahoma State.
No, I kind of wish you would have asked me to take me with you, but you didn't. So
I would have loved to have taken you with me.
But it was a commitment that I had made to Oklahoma State University, and I was going to go with that first commitment. But I know if I would have been in that position, I would have probably did the same thing. I mean, I'm so happy for you that you made that right decision, and that's why right now I think you're probably I'd say the first coach that I've ever liked to play for, but never got a chance to. I always got to put Marv Lever in front of you. I'm sorry, Coach.
Well, that's fine. You never can tell, Thurman. There is free agency in this league, and you never can tell. One of these days, I may coach again. So.
Well, Coach, I tell you what, if you do coach again, I hope it's in the AFC, so we can get a chance to win a Super Bowl against the NFC, okay? I don't want you to go back to the NFC. I want you to come to the AFC this time.
Thurman, speaking of the Super Bowl, you're asked all the time about the losing streak. Is that something that drives this football team to have more success, or do you just try to erase it from your mind?
Well, I think we try to drive and try to have more success with this football team. Sure, we lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, but this team has a lot of quality, has a lot of character, and we try to drive to do the best and try to be the best in the National Football League. It hasn't worked out for us in the last 4 years, but, we just keep going out there and keep trying to try to do our best. And hopefully one of these years before the guys get 40 and 35 years old, that hopefully we can win a Super Bowl.
Thurman, y'all have done such a great job, and really you've accomplished something there, you and the Buffalo Bills, that nobody's ever been able to do, there in the AFC as far as winning the championship 4 straight times. I know everybody's talking about, going back the 5th time. You got off to a bad start yesterday. I picked you to win, and you scared me a little bit there against New England. They came back on you. One of the things that was a concern as far as, you playing on grass and artificial surface, is there any difference to you? Do you have a preference?
Well, I came up during the Big 8, and all the Big 8 teams in the Big 8 conference, they always play on artificial turf. So, but, I prefer playing on the artificial turf. But, if we have a chance to play on grass, all the questions are going to be raised about can the Bills play on artificial, can the Bills play on grass? I can play on grass. I like to. It doesn't matter what we go through or what we have to accomplish. I think with this team, we have to go out and we have to be able to play on any type of surface, no matter what it is.
Thurman Thomas, thank you very much for joining us from Buffalo. Tell your teammate Andre Reed to stand by. We'll be talking with him in just a few minutes. Thank you very much. You at home, I know you're wondering how you can get more involved with our Sports Waves team. Well, here's how.
Now is your chance to join our team by ordering the Sports Waves Fan Pack. This special offer includes our T-shirt, cap, keychain, and an autographed picture of the man himself, Jimmy Johnson. The hottest team in football is Jimmy's team, and you can be a part of it with our Fan Pack for only $32.95. Sports Waves accepts MasterCard, Visa, and Discover. Just pick up the phone and call 1-800-851-5511 for orders only. Give us 2 to 3 weeks for delivery, and you can proudly display the Sports Waves colors.
Come on, take the plunge.
Operators are standing by. Outboard were prohibited, the waves not included.
Sports Waves is sponsored in part by Acock Tire and Wheel, by Bargains for Better Homes.
Back on Sports Waves, and the band that you're enjoying today is Emerald City. Let's hear it for Emerald City. Great job and a great stop. You saw some of those passing stats. That means obviously that some receivers had some big weeks this past week in the NFL. One of them was a guy from the Buffalo Bills named Andre Reed. And joining us live now from Rich Stadium is another member of the Buffalo Bills, Andre Reed. Andre, this is Mike Doocy along with Jimmy Johnson. Let me ask you about that performance this past Sunday. 7 catches, 142 yards. You guys really turned it around. How'd you do it?
Well, I think it was just a matter of us going out and playing. We came out flat against the Jets the first game, and our offense really wasn't gelling. I think it was a matter of the offensive line getting together and everybody putting the onus on themselves to make the plays. I think last week, we were waiting for somebody else to make the plays instead of each individual going out and saying, I got to make a play. And against New England, we did do that this week.
Andre, congratulations, not only on yesterday, but all the great years that you've had with the Buffalo Bills. I'd like to get your perspective a little bit about the New England Patriots secondary right now, because they've got some outstanding defensive back with Hurst and Reynolds and Guyton, and they struggled with the Miami Dolphins a few weeks ago, and they struggled again yesterday. And, of course, you were wide open a bunch of times and made some great plays. What do you think the problem, what did you see in getting ready for the Patriots as far as their secondary that you could do?
Well, we watched them against Miami, and With Dan Marino back there, it's always tough to go against Miami. Our offense is predicated mostly on trying to find holes in zones. And a lot of times they blew some coverages here and there. And we took advantage of it. And, a lot of times when coverages are blown, you have to take advantage of them. I think the running game probably helped us out a lot. We had to get the running game going to open up the pass. And once we got that going, we could offset it and make some big plays, get a chance to make the big play.
Well, Jim Kelly had said prior to the game that he wanted to go back to the no-huddle, the hurry-up offense, and really not call the plays at the line of scrimmage. Did you do more of that yesterday?
We did. I think it was a matter of us just going out and trying to get the plays off in about 15, 16 seconds. The first game and a little bit last year, we kind of were doing the no-huddle, but it took us maybe 20, 21 seconds to get a play off. Again, I think our offense is predicated on trying to get the defense off balance, get them discombobbled, and everybody start yelling at each other and get this guy, get that guy. And while we're just steady gelling, we just move the ball down the field. And that's what we did yesterday. It was just a matter of us going out and playing the way we know how to play. And, I give a lot of credit to the offensive line and just the offense as a whole.
Andre, we have a question from our audience. Carolyn?
Thanks, guys. I'm out here with Frank Sika, and Frank Sika seeks an answer. What's your question?
Andre, the Bills are a very high-powered offense. How do you guys think you'll do this year?
If I knew that answer, I wouldn't even show up. Everybody's always out for us. I mean, we're four-time AFC champs. Everybody in our division, the AFC East, is better. Plan B and free agency is a lot of teams, New England, Indianapolis, Miami. They picked up some key players in key positions. And, we still have our nucleus of guys, and we kind of rely on our veteran guys to make the plays and to win the games for us. Again, we have to be up 100%. We have to be up a little bit more for every team every week, because it seems like when everybody plays us, it's a Super Bowl no matter what.
This week you've got the Dolphins, down in Miami, I think it is, and so.
Now we play Houston.
Oh, you've got Houston. Yeah. Well, you don't have to worry about Houston. Let's talk about Miami Dolphins.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you got some boos down there from that.
There's a few boos. Yeah. As far as in your division, do you still feel like that the Dolphins are the team to beat, or you think the Jets are the ones that you got to beat now?
Well, I mean, the Jets started off 2-0 now. They beat a good Denver team this past week. Probably nobody ever thought they'd beat them. But, again, everybody's so good in our division. They picked up a lot of players, and the parity is real good in the AFC East this year.
Andre Reed of the Buffalo Bills, we appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the season. Thanks for joining us on Sports Waves.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Andre. And Sports Waves will continue right after this. Stay with us.
Most people would jump at the chance. 10 days in South America. But this was business, and I was 5,000 miles from home, trying to keep my bearings, trying to negotiate, sometimes just trying to communicate.
At Foot Action.
Welcome back to Sports Waves. If you would like to be a part of our Sports Waves crowd, all you have to do is ask. Write us at Lone Star Hospitality, 3131 Turtle Creek Boulevard, Suite 1301, Dallas, Texas, 75219. Now back to Mike Doocy.
And welcome back to Sports Waves, along with Jimmy Johnson. I'm Mike Doocy. 2 weeks are in the books in the National Football League, and to take us on a little spin around the NFL, here's marvelous Mark Meader.
Week 2 in the NFL, the marquee matchup, Montana versus the 49ers. Steve Young, trying to get out of Joe Shadow, finds himself in Derek Thomas's instead. Young threw 2 interceptions, fumbled, was sacked 4 times, but all in all, he thought his team played pretty well.
Other than our lull in the third quarter, we really played pretty solidly despite, a lot of penalties and stupid stuff.
Joe Montana and his Chiefs came away winners, and it was just another day at the office for the future Hall of Famers.
well, it means we're 2-0 right now. And well, the biggest thing is just, it was, as I said earlier in the week, it was a fun game to be in, whether we were going to win or lose, and it's always better to win it.
The man who could be the next great NFL quarterback, Drew Bledsoe of the Patriots. Another 300-yard day. Bledsoe has thrown for 7 touchdowns and over 700 yards in his first 2 outings. Unfortunately, though, his Patriots are still 0-2 on the year. Warren Moon looking a bit better in Week 2, giving his Vikings their first win. Though Moon was probably seeing stars after this shellacking courtesy of Detroit's Roderick Thomas, the Viking feeling a little doggish after that one. Jeff George may be hitting his stride. He goes 29 for 38 with 3 touchdowns in Atlanta's victory over the LA Rams. Rookie Heath Schuler may have to wait a bit longer for his first start with the Skins. John Freese cools down the Saints with 4 touchdown tosses, giving Washington their first victory. In the who's for real and who ain't category, how about them Chargers? The Bolts blasted the Bengals and are now 2-0. The Raiders, picked by many to sweep the AFC. Here they come against Seattle. They're out of control. Ooh, L.A. crashes and burns with the 0-2 start. Hostetler's okay, though. Hose him off. He'll be ready to go again next week. With the NFL wrap-up, I'm Mark Meter for Sports Waves.
Right, Mark, thank you. So the Raiders are crashing and burning in the early season. How tough is that San Francisco loss on the psyche of Steve Young?
Well, I think it hurts him some, but you know, he's gone through a lot over the last few years, and I really believe that they can get that offensive line back healthy or somewhat healthy. I know that Barton and a few of them are going to be out for a few weeks. I think that they're still going to be a factor, and I think that they'll still come down to the home field advantage between Dallas and the 49ers.
And when we come back, Alvin Harper and Pat Summerall still to come on Sports Wave.
Where is everyone going on 635? To the Skillman exit, where 2 blocks north you'll find bargains for better homes.
Welcome to Bargains. Come in, see what's new.
With over $250,000 of market samples and consignment furniture, choose from living room, bedroom, mattresses, and thousands of beautiful accessories. Shop where your decorator buys.
And how do you like us now?
You owe it to yourself just to come take a look.
At 337-8877 or 1-800-833-03.
And he is looking for Jerry. And Rice is there. And he's into the end zone. He's done it. Jerry Rice.
He is the game's greatest receiver. And on this night, Jerry Rice scores his 127th touchdown, breaking the game's oldest individual record. Jerry Rice, the NFL's biggest kahuna.
Doocy with Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy, we've just seen some video of the great Jerry Rice. Alvin Harper will join us in a few minutes. A guy I know you feel has outstanding potential. How much of it is he using at this point?
Well, of course, Alvin's playing a big part because he's the receiver that's going to make the big play, and he's made the big play in the big ball games. I know when we first watched him in the Senior Bowl, that's when he caught my eye, and I came back and I said, hey, of the receivers that are out there right now, I said Alvin Harper's the one that's going to make it to the Pro Bowl because he's got that kind of talent. And he's the only thing with Dallas, there's only so many balls to go around, and so I'm sure Alvin doesn't have as many thrown his way as he'd like, but there's a lot of talent on that offensive team.
Let's get him up here to talk about it. From the Dallas Cowboys, welcome Alvin Harper. Alvin, welcome.
Al, I think you like your escorts more than you like me.
I don't think so.
Alvin, how about the ball game this past week? A lot of the Cowboys' offense was frustrated, but you weren't. 3 catches, 109 yards, and that big 53-yard touchdown play.
Well,
I didn't get frustrated because I know the type of offense that we have. Any given time we can get a big strike. Emmitt can go for 70, Michael can catch a bomb, or I can even catch a bomb. So I would just relax and I would just tell him, just get me the ball, please, please.
I didn't see all of the ball game, but we were in the airport, Rhonda and I, and we were watching it. Just when you gave him the little fake and went down deep and caught the deep pass, and Rhonda looked over at me and she says, that looks like Alvin in that red Mercedes going about the same speed as he did from the airport that time. Seems like Alvin and I always would run into each other at one time or another, and he was always passing me.
Going about 100 miles an hour.
You still running the wheels off that Mercedes?
Every day.
Hey, Alvin.
But I don't have a coach to tell me to slow it down.
Alvin, you tried to high-five a member of the crowd, and instead, you slapped her in the face by mistake. What's the deal with that?
That was an accident. I didn't realize I was going to jump that high, but, they was in the first row, and she stuck her hand down. I tried to hit her hand on the way up, but I hit her in the face instead. Well, she seemed to like it because she went crazy. Yes, yes.
Alvin, with Ernie Zampese being offensive coordinator this year, I'm seeing you run a few different routes than what we did over the past couple of years. What kind of changes have you made with the routes and what you're running, what they're going to you with?
Well, when you was coaching, y'all sent me deep all the time, deep posts and just straight bombs. Right now, he's got me running some out routes and some crossing patterns, to open it up, because every time I come off the line of scrimmage, guys are just taking off running. Like, we know you're going to go deep. We know you're not going to catch a pass under 12 yards. We're just going to get out and not let you get passes. But Ernie's, he's opened my game up a little bit more, improvising by running the outs and curls.
Well, if they know you're going deep, how did you get open deep every time?
Got them jets.
All right, let's go into our audience now with Carolyn.
Alvin, I have a question for you, and I want an honest answer. Which team do you think has the better receivers?
Dallas Cowboys.
No. Let me finish. Between.
San Francisco only got one good receiver. That's Jerry Rice. Cowboys got me and Michael.
Alvin, you anticipated the question. You knew she was going to try to compare your receiving core to that of the San Francisco 49ers. There was a question before the season as to whether you'd even remain a member of the Cowboys. You made it obvious, and it was well publicized in the offseason, that you wanted out of Dallas. Are you happy you stayed, and where do you see yourself in the future?
I'm happy I stayed. I got an opportunity to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. No one's never done that. So I'm happy for that aspect. Wherever Coach Johnson going, I'm going.
Whoa. So Jimmy surfaces say...
You like the Florida Keys. That's where I am right now.
Well, I guess I have to buy me a boat, too.
So you're saying if Coach Johnson takes an NFL head coaching job next year, that's the place you would want to be?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind. I love it to death.
Well, see, that's the thing about it. They can't get me for tampering in the league because I'm not coaching anywhere. So,
seriously, if you had an opportunity, would you like to stay in Dallas, or do you not see yourself in Dallas in the future?
Well, I don't know. I'm going to do what's best for me. This new collective bargaining agreement is kind of hurting people, but I'll be a free agent, and I'm looking out for myself in the future. Because football is not forever, and I want to see myself down the line, retired, go out on a boat, fish, and play golf every day.
All right.
Of course, I think everybody knows that Alvin and I were just kind of kidding around a little bit on this because, deep down, I think the best place for Alvin Harper is the Dallas Cowboys because they are the best team in football. And as long as the players... Someday, when you grow old and you got gray hair and a gray beard and a gray mustache, you'll look back and you look at all those Super Bowl rings, and that's what's going to mean most to you is the success you've had here with the Dallas Cowboys.
Alvin Harper, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And we'll be back with more. Pat Summerall joins us when we come back on Sportsway.
Take your taste to
different place. Miami Subs Grill.
Every taste, every bite is a tropic delight. We've cooked up a whole new idea.
Take a taste
to a fresh new place to meet.
Take your taste, the taste that you'll find.
Joe to throw. He's going deep into the corner for Sully. He's got going deep for Rice. It's tipped and it's caught. And Rice is out in.
Marino throws deep downfield. It is caught by Fryer. Touchdown! They have become as famous as the athletes whose exploits they describe.
Big opening for Tony Dorsett. Look out. He's got great speed.
Their notoriety has earned them annual salaries in the millions. All have unique styles we as fans come to love
The party's over.
and to hate.
In spite of my national connections, Howard, I stick with the Colts.
It's not an easy thing for you, then, to pretend to a neutrality.
For over 30 years, this former kicker for the New York Giants has come to symbolize NFL football. First, as the signature voice at CBS Sports.
Welcome to Super Bowl 12. I'm Pat Summerall with...
Today, as one of the marquee names on the Fox Network's gaudy Super Sunday honor roll, Pat Summerall excels for all the wrong reasons. He's not flashy, controversial, young, or glamorous. He doesn't scream, offer wild predictions, or make anyone mad. He simply calls the game.
All of that is not really necessary.
And NFL football simply wouldn't be as good without him.
Back to Newhouse, option pass, deep for Golden Richards, touchdown Dallas.
He has what I just would, I hunger for at times, and that is to be so cool under fire. I mean, I'm up there screaming emotionally, oh my, and getting all worked into a frenzy, and Pat Summerall just always seems to be in such total control, no matter what situation it is.
When the Fox Network outbid CBS Sports for the rights to televise NFC games this past spring, many fans were skeptical that the network that brought us Bart Simpson could do as well as the one that brought us Bart Starr and so many stars since. But once Fox signed Pat Summerall, somehow we knew everything would be okay. As it is right now, as we welcome Pat Summerall right here on Sports Waves.
Good to see you, Pat. Pat Summerall, we've just seen an outstanding look back at your career, first as a player and now as a broadcaster. What does it feel like to be working for a different network?
Feels very strange. After 34 years with CBS and all the time in New York, it's very strange. Once we get on the air, it's kind of the same, though.
I was going to say, I would imagine once the football game starts, and I think that's been the critics, quote unquote, have said that it's pretty much business as usual, and for the most part, they mean that in a good way when they talk about you and John Madden.
Well, we have basically the same crew that we had at CBS. We have the same director, same producer, some of the same cameramen, and John is going to be John. So I like to be able to say that's a comforting feeling, but...
Pat, you've had so many memorable games over the years, and I'm sure some of them stand out as far as, you know, the ones that you'll always remember as being special. Any in particular that you can talk to us about?
Yeah, I think, well, two come to mind, and both involve the Cowboys. Yeah. One was the championship game at Candlestick Park 2 years ago, which you're very familiar with. The mud and the conditions under which that game was played and the job that you did, I think I probably myself didn't leave anything out. I think I was probably as good as I've ever been that day. The other would be, I think, Super Bowl 10, the one, the clip you saw here. I was working then with Tom Brookshire, and Tom and I had a good time in the broadcast booth and out of the broadcast booth. Anyway, one quarter or half of one quarter went by and he lost his voice, so they spent most of the rest of the day spraying his throat, and I had to do basically the whole game by myself. I think that's the hardest I ever worked in my life, but it was another Dallas victory.
How about some of the people that you've worked with? I know that you've worked with quite a few, and some of them are, I guess you might say, real characters.
Well, you know, yeah. Tom Brookshire comes to mind right off the top of my head. But, you know, we were in Los Angeles, one of our many meetings last summer, and I guess I thought I learned what they had to say some time ago. Anyway, I was working on something else, and I wrote down the number of people I've done football games with, and I could remember 108 different people that I had done a football broadcast with. So you asked me some of the characters? Yes. Alex Hawkins. I don't know if you remember him or not.
I've heard stories
He
on
was
Alex
a character.
Hawkins.
He said when one particular, it was a Pro Bowl broadcast, and I think it was Larry Wilson was playing the game with both broken hands. And Alex made the comment, well, when we have a chance to go to the bathroom, he'll find out who his friends really are. And the next day he left CBS. But I would put him with Tom Brookshire, yeah.
Pat, stay with us if you would. We'll be back. You're watching Sports Waves from Miami Subs Grill in Dallas, Texas. We'll be right back after this pick 3 and a word from your local station.
Watch this. With MetroCell, I can dial my cellular phone with my voice. Let's call my office.
Mr. Seekins' office, can I help you?
Amazing. Or I can say, call home.
Hello, I'm not home right now.
And if you're in your car, look, Mom, no hands. Call Rebecca. Yep, that's about as safe and easy as it gets. MetroCell's voice touch. And only we have
27.
Sports Waves is brought to you by Apex Authentic NFL Pro Line Apparel. Available at Foot Action. By American Airlines, something special in the air. And by Miami Subs Grill. Great food served fast.
We are back on Sports Waves. I'm Mike Doocy along with Jimmy Johnson and Pat Summerall. One superstar of broadcasting and two guys who are trying to get there, I guess is the way to describe it. Let's go to the audience for a question for Pat Summerall.
Hey, there's 3 of us trying to get there, Mike. Thanks. This is Tim Hoyt, and Tim has a question for Pat.
Pat, I really admire your coverage of the NFL, but I have to change the pace on you. I also admired your golf coverage and wondered what the most exciting golf event you witnessed was.
Well, I don't think there's any question about that. That would go back to 1986 when Jack Nicklaus won the Masters with his son caddying for him. That's the most emotional event I've ever done on television, bar none. That was terrific.
Pat, during the package earlier on your career, Dick Enberg talked about how calm and collected you are. Are you that way inside, especially when you're covering and calling a big game like you did this past Sunday in Kansas City? Are you really as calm as you appear?
No, I think it would be something wrong with me if I didn't get excited like everybody else. Somebody has to be a calming influence, I think, because I know John's going to shout. I know John's going to wave his arms. Jimmy won't give it back to us from Los Angeles. So we don't know when things are going to get started. But somebody has to be there to keep things, I guess, under control as near as you can. But yeah, I get excited. I get nervous. But I was a kicker, and I don't think it's very good that the kicker gets too excited, unless the coach gets after him, of course.
Pretty good preparation for broadcasting.
Yeah, that's right. Right.
Well, for what it's worth, a lot of us in this business admire the way you go about it with your understated manner. There are a lot of people with the flips and the whistles in this business right now, and a lot of us really like the way you do your job. Pat Summerall,
thank you.
Thanks for being with us tonight. I appreciate it. Jimmy, as a guy just getting into the broadcast game, I'm sure you watch a guy like Pat Summerall and try to pick up some pointers here and there.
Yeah, the thing that I'd like to ask, because, when Fox first approached me, Ed Gorin, they talked about being in the studio, but then he also said the possibility, if I wanted to do some games. And after giving it some thought and talking to various people, I said, no, I said, I'm not going to do any games this year. I'm just going to be in the studio. What's your thoughts as far as the differences of being in the studio and maybe being a color man on the road and at a game?
Oh, I think being in the studio, the job you're doing is much more difficult than being...
Just like I told you to say, Pat.
Sure. We talked before. Being an analyst, you have to realize the limitations of how long you can talk, the point you want to make, and the time limitations are such. You have to be able to take advantage of the mechanical aids that we have now, which were not always available. There's a lot going on in the booth, I think, but having been a coach, I think you could handle that with a lot more ease than you can being in the studio. I think you made the right choice.
Okay, guys, we appreciate it very much. Thanks again. Let's take a quick look at our poll results, our viewer poll on the Wave line. We asked you about NFL realignment. 54% say yes, 46% say no. I think that's a pretty accurate portrayal about what a lot of fans around the NFL might think about realignment, some possible rivalries being created. Guys, we had a great time on the show tonight. Jimmy Johnson, we'll look forward to seeing you throughout the year. Pat Summerall, thanks for being with us tonight. Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, and Alvin Harper with us as well. Guests on Sports Waves receive a custom suit from Lombardo's Custom Apparel, America's finest custom clothier. Next week, Frank Gifford, Al Michaels, and Dan Deerdorf from the Monday Night Football crew. For all of us on Sports Waves, thanks for a great hour. I'm Mike Doocy. So long, everybody.
Wardrobe by Lombardo Custom Apparel, America's finest custom clothing. Accommodations in South Florida provided by the Marriott Key Largo Bay Beach Resort. And in Dallas, Jimmy Johnson and his guests stay at the beautiful Melrose Hotel. Sports Waves is a presentation of DCL Media.